Hello everyone, and welcome back to another WARNO deck deep dive with the final Norfolk division that we haven't done a video of these for, the Korpus Desantowy. A division that I struggled with for a while. I now think I got a handle on them, and that's where this deck comes from. I feel pretty comfortable with this deck now, so let me know down below what my wrong takes are though, and what do you think are better picks here. And yeah, let's have a discussion down there. And if you want to support the channel, leave a like and a subscription if you want to see more of these kind of videos. Infantry tab and logistics tab. Logistics tab standard here with amphibious supply. They're not amazing, but they get the job done. And you could get the Me6, but you don't have enough long range AA to protect this thing nicely. So that's why I don't take that. BRDM, a decent 3 availability CV. You don't get any others here, and you get your forward deploy CV in the infantry tab, so you don't need that here. Tank tab doesn't have any CVs in it because you can't afford the slots, so 7 CVs it is, with 1 normal real line naval infantry with smoke, and 1 forward deploy with smoke here from the parachutist, the Spadoch, and they come in here with decent, pretty expensive paying for the forward deploy, but outside of that, decent leader, RPG, smoke, 6 hit points, that's quite nice. Cheap here, 3, and smoke. Smoke is still nice. You get some MGs here for securing positions early on with forward deploy, that is quite nice. You have 1 really good infantry unit, the rest is all okay, but not amazing. The Desert Commandosi, they are amazing. 3 PKMs with special forces for 60 points, that is really strong. 8 hit points is quite nice as well with forward deploy and special forces. The shock is not super important with the medium machine guns, but the rest is quite nice. The Spadoch is nice for deploy infantry as well. As you can see, these guys 1 more hit point, and that's kind of it. They have a weaker AT and still cost the same price, so special forces are the better choice, but you still get more forward deploy, strong infantry here. That is pretty good in the later game as well. The Nibetsky, they're pretty pricey. They are 12 hit points, that is nice. The Resolute is pretty nice for a 12 hit point unit as well. The Topash is okay. The Topash AP can help out with anti-helicopter, so that's why I take that here with the 50 cal, 14.5 millimeter. That can also help out a bit as an AA weapon on the side hustle. It is not a great infantry squad, but it is enough to fill big gaps and put it into towns. And if you combine them with the Saperji variants, especially with the triple flamethrower, you can get some nice stuff done. The Marine Saperji here with the RPG and Satchel Charge is a great combo as well. So they are quite nice too. And yeah, Topaz for 15 points, not amazing. Comes with an MG though, so you get a bit more vehicles out there that can shoot up the enemy, and ever since they got 1200 meter range, it's not terrible. Without smoke though, it is not a great transport either. You only get Fagot ATGMs, that is one of the major weaknesses of this deck, because you don't get any conkers, so dealing with enemy tanks is a problem. On the ground, you need your aircraft and helicopters for that, because your ground units can't really do that, but for IVs, with the Medis and the Fagot, you still have decent options. Artillery has a pretty cool unit here. With the rocket launcher, you usually want to use 2 or 3 of them at once, and then they are pretty efficient at dealing with stuff. 45 points is also still pretty cheap, like you can buy all of them for a similar price to the Grad here, so that is still pretty fine. And then we have the big guns here. Issue with these, they only have a salvo length of 2, which often leaves the enemy still alive if you shoot with just 1, so you always want to use both at the same time. So you need to invest 500 points all at once, or don't invest it at all, to get both out, and then the guns actually do a decent amount of work. Outside of that, they are okay, but they don't quite do the job if you just buy them on their own. They are, the 2 salvo length for sure makes them weaker than comparable big guns, like the M110. Tank tab, not great, because it's super expensive, and the options are somewhat limited. The ASU 85 in my eyes, unfortunately, currently not great. Yes, it has better stealth. Gun is okay, but range is not great. And yeah, it doesn't really do the HE damage you need to deal. And so we go with 1 T55A and the T55AS. that can help out dealing with town fights as well, which is where you want to get your victories. So that helping out there is quite nice too. And then the Fagot as the flanking ATGM little vehicle. The Malyutka P is pretty slow flying ATGM and so on. So I like the Fagot more, even if it has a bit less range. Both have similar availability. The ammunition of this one is interesting, with 18 shots, but you usually don't fire that many anyways, so... And this one can come forward deploy and be a bit of a nuisance in the early game too, which is where you need to get your advantage that leads you to the victory. Recon tab is an interesting one. You have the really cool and pretty unique little W3RR projecon here with the SIG-INT trait as a recon helicopter that can be pretty annoying because you can find enemy positions with it quite easily with the SIG-INT function and then hit them with the Pivonias. So that is an interesting option here, and in general a decent recon helicopter next to it as well, but SIG-INT trait is the important part. And then we have a decent GSR infantry unit as well. The PM63 unfortunately is pretty terrible, so even with special forces these guys don't deal a lot of damage in CQC. The RPG 7VL is nice though. Polish infantry usually not having great RPGs, so having a good one here on a recon unit with forward deploy and GSR is nice on the flank. If any vehicle gets close, they can kill that. And then you have your pretty standard leaders here, or recon units here, with the Dejant Vedoce, though they struggle with bad AT as well. And then PT-76s just so that you can get a couple more vehicles out there for fire support, for dealing with enemy APCs. But it is unfortunately not doing so great either, the PT-76, when it comes to dealing with IFVs or anything. So that's really the issue here in this deck, dealing with tanks, dealing with IFVs. IFVs a bit easier still because you have a decent amount of lighter armor here and lighter AT weapons, but the heavier tanks, you need to get through the last two tabs there. AA, we get the Yacht here with the Strela and the ZSU with forward deploy, normal Strela 2M teams with forward deploy, all of those doing quite nice, and then the Hibernate on the truck. This is quite nice fire support, can be helpful in dealing with infantry fights, can be helpful on hunting down enemy helicopters. The range on 2,475 meters is not amazing against helicopters, that is an issue here. If it would have one of the two weapons of 2,600 meters, it would be a lot better. But it still does the job well as a support unit here. Can move with your pushes and give you some anti-helicopter protection and a bit of anti-aircraft fire as well once those come around. Helicopter tab is good. You get the so-calls with Strelas and rockets. They do a decent job, though they are a bit pricey. I wish they would be 90 points, or maybe even 85 points, then they would be really great. For 100 points, they are not that great right now, but they are doing fine here, and you need some Strela helicopters here. And then the Mi-24Ds, they are great. They are still coming with 2 per card, that is really good. And the Mi-24W here with the Cohan, that is where you get your first really good AT weapon. And then in the air tab, you get more of those. You get Su-22s in different shapes and forms. The cluster one is great against tanks, the AT one is great against tanks. You get the seat to get them through in the late game, and the Su-22 M4 rocket to escort them to be a bit of a bait for enemy AA as well. And then you get MiG-29s, and you could get a good couple of MiG-29s, but I feel like 4 MiG-29s are not quite enough, and you want to have more fighters. And this is where the MiG-21s come in for me. I use them in front of my 2 MiG-29s that I always have around, and that way I can get more aircraft out. I can get a combo out of 2 fighters cheaper than if I would have to buy 2 MiG-29s, which early on allows you to take on single enemy fighters quite easily. And this way you get 6 fighters out. MiG-21 also pretty decent at diving at enemy helicopters or so can be wasted a bit there as well. So this is why I go for the MiG-21 instead of 2 MiG-29 cards. If I would be able to get 3 cards, then I would go with 6 MiG-29s, but you need the Su-22s here in this deck. You can't afford it to put all the MiG-29s in there, or you would have to cut elsewhere, and I don't really see a point where I would be able to get 3 more points for this deck, as all the other tabs are pretty essential as well. So that's why I go with these 6 fighters here, and then 8 attack or 9 attack aircraft here, including the seat, to get the damage done to deal with the enemy tanks. So yeah, weaknesses of this deck: the lack of IFVs, the lack of heavy AT is for sure real, and the lack of long-range AA is a problem as well. Strength, strong forward deployment, and strong air tab, and a strong helicopter tab. So that's the 3 strengths of the deck. You need to use that a lot. You need to be flexible in the early game. You need to be getting onto the enemy quite quickly. If you can, try to sneak around to deal with the AAE weapons, and then bring in the helicopters and planes whenever you kill the AA to smack them. And yeah, seat and so on helps out with that as well. So yeah, it's a full-on, you need to keep going deck. You need to get the momentum and keep that pushing forward until you have 2000 points. This is not a deck that wants to go 40 minutes in a brawl. Against some infantry decks that can work out with your artillery and so on, you are better than most heavy airborne divisions out there. Like all the airborne divisions that are like 11th or so or 82nd, they don't have any artillery like that. So that is your slight advantage there. You have some real tanks as well, though T-55s are the lowest of the real tanks, but you get that. So that is all nice, but in general, you want to focus on the air, the helicopter, and the infantry tab to get your wins. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Have a nice day.